Everyone agrees that the law must punish those who break it. But what happens with criminals who are mentally too ill to be punished? In today's video, I'll be discussing the case of Andre Lee Thomas, a man who's obviously crazy enough to do what he did, but not crazy enough to avoid his death sentence.
Attorneys for a North Texas death row inmate who removed his only eye. Thomas believed Andre Jr. was the Antichrist and the 13-month-old a related evil spirit. All three were stabbed and their hearts ripped out. That he's too mentally ill to be executed.
Hi guys, welcome back to Crimeco, your go-to channel for some intriguing and incredible true crime stories. Before I continue with today's case, make sure to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and turn on the notifications. So buckle up and get ready to go on a wild ride with us. Andre Lee Thomas is an American man born and raised in Sherman, Grayson County, Texas, on March 17, 1983. Most people remembered him as a curious, sweet little kid, one who was eager to know about the world. Some even go so far as to state that he could have been a brilliant man had he been raised under the proper circumstances and care. But his parents' neglect and poverty during his childhood were defining features of his upbringing. Both of his parents dealt with several issues. His mother, Rochelle, suffered from depression, which contributed to her alcoholism and, unfortunately, made her an unstable mother figure to Andre and his siblings. His father, Danny, also had his fair share of issues with alcohol and with the law. It's heartbreaking to know that Andre and his siblings were left to fend for themselves from a young age, but although things weren't great at home, he found some comfort in the church and at Sunday school. One of his teachers remembered him as an amazing kid who thrived at school, where he was even part of a special program for gifted students. He was good at fixing things, especially cars, maybe because, in his young years, he had to figure out how to do everyday chores by himself without any parental figure to look up to. However, when Andre was around 10 years old, things started to go off. Perhaps in an attempt to get some sympathy for everything that was going on at home, he confided in his classmates that he was hearing voices. He used to say that angels and demons were fighting inside his head. But of course, kids sometimes don't know how to handle certain circumstances, and this lack of comprehension may have led to Andre's abuse of substances like alcohol and marijuana. He needed something to calm the mess inside him and cope with such strong emotions. But this misuse of substances wasn't enough, and soon enough, Andre began harming himself when his suicidal thoughts got the best of him. Unfortunately, he never got the medical attention he needed, and that was crucial in the series of events that would take place in a few years. Between this back and forth with his mental issues, Andre's life went into a destructive spiral. He couldn't control his substance abuse, and his head was a turmoil of intrusive and suicidal thoughts. He was in and out of juvenile detention and was even placed on suicide watch due to his attempts to take his own life. It's curious, but mostly infuriating, that no one, not even the police or the medical staff that treated him, somehow, if possible, helped him get the help he needed to fight for his own sanity. He was a troubled kid with a terrible upbringing. Someone must have helped him. But the help wouldn't come until a few years later, when it was already too late. In the midst of his teen years, there were times when Andre got to live a normal life. He found love with a nice girl named Laura Boren, he got some part-time jobs, and he was still in school. Life was looking good, but when her girlfriend got pregnant, he dropped out of school to start working full-time to support his little family. In August 1999, their son was born, and they named him after his father, Andre Jr. A few years later, on March 17, 2001, Andre and Laura got married on the very day of his 18th birthday. Their excitement was surely over the roof, but soon trouble would hit again. The teen couple seemed to have failed to thrive in their relationship after the honeymoon phase faded, and they broke up soon after since their relationship was rocky. This set off Andre's behavior, which got more and more erratic over time. The voices in his head came back, yelling at him and telling him all sorts of crazy stuff, which ended up with Andre suffering from psychotic delusions. He became so obsessed with the Book of Revelation that he would sometimes duct tape his mouth shut for days at a time because God told him so. He was so far into his delusions that he thought that his estranged wife, Laura, was the reincarnation of Jezebel and that his son, Andre Jr., was the Antichrist. Of course, Laura, due to all of Andre's issues and his lack of being able to provide for his son, had limited contact with him, which triggered his odd behavior even more. Along with alcohol and drug abuse, he started taking a lot of quercetin, a medicine for colds that can also make the person feel a sense of euphoria. One day, he was so out of his mind that one of his friends took him to a mental health facility where Andre refused to leave until he could speak to someone about his issues. He was told to go to the emergency room where he could get a consultation, but eventually he just got up and left the premises. Weeks later, he tried to end his life by injuring himself with a knife in the chest, and when the medical staff asked him about why he would do such a thing, all he could say was that he wanted to cross over into heaven. Finally, a doctor was concerned enough about his well-being and was setting up a consult with a psychiatrist, but again, Andre did what he knew best. He made sure he was all patched up and left before he could get any help for his mental issues. To make matters worse, Laura, who was still Andre's wife by law, moved on with her life and found herself a new boyfriend, Bryant Hughes, with whom she had a daughter named Leah. Despite knowing all of this, Andre never gave up on their relationship. He was almost obsessed with getting back together with Laura. The night before the tragic event, he went to her house demanding to see his son, but he was so intoxicated that he passed out in her living room, and after he composed himself, she kicked him out. In the end, the voices inside Andre's head won, and now he was determined to do what they told him to. This time, it was the voice of God telling him to kill his wife and her children because they were demon-possessed in one of his hallucinations, so he had to do it no matter what. So, on March 27, 2004, he went to Laura's house with a specific purpose in mind. Andre burst into her house and frantically started to look for her. Once he finds her, he injures her with a knife and then cuts her chest open to remove her heart. Once he is done with Laura, he starts searching for his son. He finds Andre Jr. sleeping peacefully in his room beside his little sister, Leah, and this is where all sanity goes out the window. Andre takes the kids out of bed, and one by one, he does the same as he did to Laura. He even had one knife for each because he didn't want their blood to mix, as the voices inside his head told him. You would think that after the killings, Andre would run away, but he didn't. Seeing what he had done, he went and lay on the floor beside Laura. He stabbed himself in the chest, hoping to die, but he survived. He got up and went home, but not before taking something with him. Andre had 3 hearts in his pocket and neither a heart nor a soul within him. The hearts were later found in a trash can at his place. Back at his home, it seemed that a sudden sense of realization hit him, so he called Laura's parents to let them know what he had done. Since the call didn't go through, he left them this message. Sherry, this is Andre. I need y'all's help. Something bad is happening to me, and it keeps happening, and I don't know what's going on. I need some help. I think I'm in hell. I need help. Somebody needs to come and help me. I need help bad. I'm desperate. I'm afraid to go to sleep. So when you get this message, come by the house, please. Hello? A few hours later, he went to the Sherman Police Department, where he confessed to the murders and was arrested. He also went through surgery due to his chest wounds, but was soon placed behind bars. 6 days later, after the killings, while reading the Bible in his cell, Andre came across a particular verse in the Bible that caught his attention. He read Matthew 5 verse 29, "If your right eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell." So he did just that. He removed his right eye with his own bare hands. Absolutely insane. After such a gruesome incident, Andre was psychologically evaluated. 3 psychologists determined he was not mentally competent to stand trial, and they all agreed he had some schizophreniform disorder, leaving out any substance abuse or psychotic disorder. He was later transferred to the Vernon State Hospital for the Criminally Insane, where, after 5 weeks of medication and treatment, Dr. Joseph Black, chief psychiatrist for the competency program, determined that Andre was exaggerating his symptoms and was, in fact, competent to stand trial. His trial began in February 2004, and although his lawyers never denied the murders, the problem was how to punish Andre for what he did. His defense argued he had a mental illness and should not be guilty, but the prosecution stated that after his recent evaluation, Andre was sane enough to tell right from wrong. An all-white jury with very contentious views on interracial marriage found Andre guilty and sentenced him to death after an agitated discussion. He was sent to death row at the Polunsky unit in Livingston, where he continued to harm himself until, finally, in December 2008, he took his remaining eye and ate it. In the following years, Andre's case was placed in a legal limbo. He was considered too mentally ill to reside on death row, but too sane to have his execution tabled, according to Texas law. So he has been confined to a special psychiatric prison facility. He was supposed to be executed on April 5, 2023, but in a last attempt by his lawyers to prove he is not mentally competent, his date was moved to July. Up until this day, Andre remains locked up, waiting for his imminent fate, eyeless and hopeless. When we first came across this case, we found Andre's story to be worth telling. He is a very sick man who didn't have the means to receive the help he needed. His life would have been significantly different had someone diagnosed him in his earlier years. He was a nice kid and tried to do the best he could to provide for his family, but his intrusive thoughts got the best of him, which led to the fateful events of 2004. Under his reasoning, his motive seemed valid, but the truth is that his hallucinations, aggravated by his undiagnosed mental illness and substance abuse, were the real kickers that led to the tragedy. Andre's case has sparked a dilemma among the public about criminals who suffered from mental illness. He's clearly insane for what he did, but whether or not he's capable of understanding these actions and why he's facing the death penalty is something that's still in question. If someone who killed and took out the hearts of 2 little kids is not worth the death penalty, then who is? That's a lot to think about. Thanks again for joining us in this story. Before you go, let us know what you think about this incredible case in the comment section. We'll see you again in the next one.